Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ibrahim Sani. Today, I am at the Heede Trucks headquarters here in Tokyo, Japan. And joining me is Filip Heede, the Malaysian boss of Heede Trucks, here to explore the underlyings of the business and what it entails for the trucking industry in the country and beyond. Filip, thanks for joining me. I want to talk about the market share of the business first. What is the market share for heavy-duty trucks in the country?
Well, currently we are in the third location. We have a market share of around 10% in the heavy-duty, according to MAA data. And our ambition is, of course, to grow and be a good contender.
What about the medium-sized trucks?
On the medium-duty side, we are very successful. There we are reaching around 23-25% market share. And with the new Kroner that was launched this year, we are able to further develop that market share.
And of course, small trucks would be your staple. What would be the small trucks segment?
At the moment, you could say our market share for small trucks is more around 5 to 8%. And we are, say, further developing to increase that market share.
And with this in mind, are you happy with the market share trend? Are you growing or are you shrinking in some of the segments?
Actually, we are currently growing in the heavy-duty segment. We are, say, very successful in a couple of segments. You can talk about construction segments. We would like to grow further in the long haul, in the distribution. We also have a good foothold in the agriculture and general cargo.
You were talking about the agriculture business, and of course within it there are many subdivisions. What businesses are you trying to focus on, particularly in the agriculture business? Would plantation be featured heavily in this sector?
Well, with plantation in specific, we are actually more targeting our medium-duty truck, Kroner, to adapt to plantations because the size of the trucks require smaller trucks.
The economic corridors are a big feature for the country. There are at least 5 economic gateways. What would these gateways be for your business?
Yeah, good question. I think you see all the Chinese development that potentially will open up borders. Secondly, you have also the Asian community that is discussing and opening up some borders. We actually have already customers that are doing cross-border trade between Thailand, Malaysia, up to Singapore. So we are following this very closely. I believe as Heede Trucks we have a very strong position there. We have in Malaysia, we have TCIE as our partner, and in the 2 other countries we have very strong own partners. We have our network in Thailand and we have our own dealer in Singapore. So we are very well positioned to open up the whole corridor all the way to China through Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore.
You mentioned the businesses of Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore and the highway that connects these countries and beyond. The competitors are doing the same. I spoke to Scania and I spoke to MAN Trucks. They are also doing the same. Are you focused on, is the competition getting stiff for this particular route?
I would not say that the competition is that stiff. I think at this moment there are still too many hurdles to really have, say, a full free trade across the borders in the ASEAN market. But slowly, I have now been almost the last 10 years following this development. Slowly we start to see that there is more and more, say, freight companies that are able to provide services to their customers to do the cross-border trade. From a Heede perspective, at the end, it's all about the capability. If a customer services the same truck along a certain route, that you are able to meet that customer's needs across the different countries that you are serving. And from a Heede Trucks perspective, we are pretty well positioned, I would say. As we talked about, we have Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore route. If you go more to the east, you have then the route over Vietnam, where we also have a private dealer. So we are, I would say, from a Heede Trucks perspective, pretty well positioned.
On top of Malaysia, you're also responsible for other markets within the region. Let's talk about your responsibilities there.
In a bigger scope, I'm responsible globally for the truck sales and marketing activities of Heede Trucks in the international markets. So that is Southeast Asia as the corner and as the biggest cornerstone in the whole Heede Trucks operation. With Malaysia, with Thailand, with Singapore and Indonesia. Then we also have operations in the Middle East, in Dubai, where we serve the whole Middle East countries, and then we have South Africa. And we just also launched Kroner and Quester 2 weeks ago in Ecuador and Bolivia. So we have quite a good footprint in emerging markets around the globe.
You mentioned that the Quester and Kroner are the products that have been launched, but the Quan I saw is only being launched in Japan.
Exactly.
Why is it not launched in other markets? Are emission standards a problem here?
Exactly. It partly impedes sales, but our strategy has been where the market, where the legislation allows, we are entering with Quan, and where the legislation is more to lower emission standards, take Euro 3, take Euro 4, there we have the Quester and the Kroner. So those two are for us at this stage very complementary. We have very limited markets where we are really overlapping the offering. And we just monitor on an ongoing basis the emission standard regulations in the different countries and see how we can optimize our portfolio towards the customers.
Right now in Japan and other markets perhaps, there is a severe shortage in truck drivers. Is this impacting your sales?
But if I take the trend in general and we can apply it as well as to Malaysia or to other markets in Southeast Asia, we do see that there is in general a trend for shortage of attracting skilled drivers and retaining for transport companies skilled drivers. And as UD Trucks, we see that we have a core stake in that challenge. What we do specifically for our customers is to give the driver the real nice environment for him to perform his job in a good way. Here we can think about safety, that he, so as well as in his surroundings as for himself, he has a safe working environment, that also the driving itself, the ability to drive becomes easier. So we are adapting our product offering from manual gearboxes to automatic gearboxes to make it easier, and for new drivers, younger drivers, to have the access to the trade easier.
During the Tokyo Motor Show, I noticed that for UD Trucks, during the launch of Quan, the company UD Trucks put a female test driver inside, and this is not unique for UD Trucks.
Exactly.
I know the exhibitor behind you guys did the same thing. Scania, the exhibitor on the left of you guys, were also doing the same thing. Is this a trend where truck manufacturers are considering and putting the female driver into the truck build?
Yeah, you would say. Of course, it depends a little bit on the market willingness for the female workforce to get into this trade. But we see in more and more countries actually that we have female drivers. Malaysia, I'm not that familiar that I have seen in the last 3-4 years a lot of female drivers. But if you look at Thailand, if you look at Singapore even, you start to see more and more female drivers.
Do you think that
I think it's a matter of time. I
that
think
Malaysia will embrace
yes,
more
exactly. And as the driving of a big truck, a medium duty truck, a heavy duty truck becomes easier, you will see that it becomes more accessible also for female drivers. At this stage, the majority of the female drivers that I have seen have been more on the long haul, say where there is less physical handling with the load or with the cargo. But in particular for garbage related, I cannot really say. I think if I relate it back to the European trends, we see more female drivers going into the long haul distribution, where a working day on average is maybe more 6 to 8 hours driving. If you do that in an automatic truck, it's becoming peace of mind.
The president of your company, the Murakami-san, said that smart logistics is going to be featured heavily. What is smart logistics?
Well, our whole offering, especially on the service side, is very much related towards, you can call it smart logistics, but to improve the driver in his work environment. So very recently we have introduced UD Telematics, which is a whole trend to connect the vehicle back with the manufacturer and to allow the customer to see where the truck is, how the truck is performing, and how the driver in the truck is performing. So we can monitor fuel behavior, harsh braking, where the truck is specifically located. So for some markets it could even be a safety aspect that we can add on.
It's interesting that you spoke about the laggard business of the trucking industry. Let's talk about that.
I do not think so. Of course, we will respect in all the different markets the local legislation. And of course, this needs to be a dialogue between the fleet owner and his specific drivers, which parameters are going to be monitored. But it's a general trend in the industry that people want to protect and their drivers and the assets so that they can fulfill their customer requirements. I think in the truck industry we have not seen that. I know that there are some markets where the insurance companies are adapting the premium depending on if there is a telematic solution provided or not. Malaysian specific, not yet, but normally what happens in the car industry, with some involvement in time, happens 1, 2, 3 years later in the truck industry. So we are ready for it. We are ready to discuss with insurance companies how UD Telematics can help them to have peace of mind and eventually for the customer reduce the premium.
I want to stick on this notion of the laggard notion on economic behavior for the trucking industry. It has been described to me by many truck manufacturers that the trucking industry is a laggard. If an economy rises, the trucking business will only receive the impact, positive impact, 1 year down the road or 2 years down the road. If the economy suffers, again, the same thing affects the trucking industry 1 or 2 or perhaps even 3 years down the road. Does this type of laggard behavior for receiving the economic representation a problem for UD trucks?
It's, at this stage I would not see it's a problem. It's a general industry trend. It's, say, based on economies of scale. As you know, the car business has much more vehicles on a yearly basis in any country. And all governments are first looking into the legislation and the adaptation of the car business, and eventually that evolves into the truck and to the other transport business. So, and this is a general trend in all the markets. So, and I believe this will stay as we are now moving, and you see that the cars are more involving in connected cars, hybrid solutions, potentially even fully electrified cars. Eventually that trend will also protrude later on in the heavy duty. Well, the extra mile challenge is all about the driver and our customers. And it's a competition that we are organizing as UD Trucks across the globe, where we are on a national level first having the competition locally. It's all about fuel efficiency, being able to maneuver the truck, and also to do as a driver the initial check of the truck. And to see out of that competition, we are bringing the best drivers from different countries to Japan to compete in a global challenge.
What do they have to do in order to win the competition?
So actually it's part of 3 sections in a way, the whole challenge. And this has been carried out in the same form in all the different markets. And the first part is the pre-inspection before the driver gets around the truck and operates the vehicle. He goes and checks and does all the different checkpoints to have a safe environment for him and for the whole environment. That is one part. Second part is the fuel efficiency test or challenge, where he's supposed to do a certain route, and together with UD Telematics we are monitoring the fuel efficiency of that specific driver. There are some obstacles during that route, so there might be people standing, turning the stop board, so he has a little bit of obstacles to overcome, and eventually at the end we will see who is the best fuel efficient driver. And then the third part of the leg is maybe the most, say, visible one. That's the maneuvering, where tractor-trailer combination or a rigid truck has to maneuver his truck to offload his cargo at a warehouse dock. And that mostly, you could say, triggers for a lot of outsiders the most interesting views.
As you say, it is the most visible.
Exactly.
And one thing that I want to draw a comparison is that Scania also does this, and of course that is a competitor of yours. Volvo Trucks, which is your parent company, 100% owned actually, also does this at certain markets. Is this a trend where truck manufacturers trying to improve on the driver's ability and skill, and try to introduce your customers, your clients, which are all the companies, into getting better drivers out there?
Well, I cannot comment on the competitors, what they are really organizing, but we as UD Trucks, we really see that the drivers and improving the skills and the abilities of the drivers is a key cornerstone to have a safe fleet, to have a fuel efficient fleet. And we as UD Trucks wants to contribute to creating that setting and that environment for the different countries to operate. Mm-hmm. And to add on to our previous talk, we were saying the maneuverability is the most visible one, but actually the fuel efficiency for me is always the most astonishing one. Because you are bringing the best 4, 5, 6 drivers from all around the globe together. And it's always interesting to see how big the variation is between the best performing driver and say the last one. Mm-hmm. And those variations can differ easily 10–15%. On the same track, in the same conditions, same load conditions. So that's why, as UD Trucks, we believe we want, with solutions like UD Telematics, to help our customers to become more efficient in their operations.
I also noticed that this is not the only thing that your company is doing. Other companies, other competitors like Scania and Volvo, of course, which is your parent, are also doing truck driving competitions. Is this like a kind of a trend for all truck manufacturers to do something about improving truck driving skills?
I believe that those developments, of course, excite us. We are in the trucking industry, we are in the transport industry, and every decision from a government to make trucking, to make transport more easier, of course, we are completely following. Take the Pan-Asian Highway. Take the potential opening of the borders across Southeast Asia. All those we are very much following in detail, and we believe that with TCIE being positioned in different parts of the country, together with UD Telematics, we are in a position to really embrace those developments.
And of course, just a few weeks back, the Prime Minister launched the Digital Freight Trade Zone with Jack Ma of Alibaba. How excited are you with this kind of launches?
Actually, next to the Kroner launch that we just had in August, we introduced 3 new features. We introduced UD Trust service agreements, we introduced UD Telematics, and we also introduced the UD Financial Services. And we have seen in the last 2 months after the launch quite a good uptake of financed solutions through UD.
Is it priced competitively or slightly above market?
Yes, yes, it is price competitive, and of course you could say there's always options to find better, but we really hope that we can serve the customer completely.
I want to talk about UD Financials. Is UD Financial going to be featured heavily in the Malaysian market?
Well, on 2018 we see a couple of trends that we really want to monitor very closely. It's all the new highway infrastructure, so we are monitoring the construction business. We would like to establish our position in the long haul and in the distribution further, and together with TCIE also help our customers on the service side to have a more comprehensive service offering.
Thanks for doing this interview, Filip. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Pleasure.
I've been speaking to Filip van den Heede, the group the managing director of UD Trucks Malaysia. I'm Ibrahim Sani for signing off for Market Talk.
Thank you.